Welcome to Capital Catch-Up, your source for the latest legislative developments from Washington. I am Victor.
And I am Leni. Today, we are diving deep into a series of major legislative efforts, starting with a significant push for government accountability and financial reform.
That is right. Let us start with House Bill 8467, also known as the Zombie Act, or the Zeroing Out Monetary Benefits Improperly Expended Act. This bill amends the Payment Integrity Information Act of 2019. It is designed to sharpen how executive agencies prevent and recover improper payments that lead to actual financial loss for the federal government.
It is interesting because it distinguishes between simple administrative errors and payments that cause genuine financial harm. By doing this, the bill aims to improve payment estimates and ensure agencies proactively address vulnerabilities in grants, contracts, and beneficiary payments. It also mandates more rigorous risk assessment guidance and requires agencies to prioritize fraud prevention in their budget justifications.
To back that up, we also have House Bill 8312, the Fraud Prevention and Accountability Act. This bill establishes a comprehensive framework to protect taxpayer funds by creating new fraud prevention functions within the Department of the Treasury. It even sets up a permanent, government-wide Inspector General for fraud, accountability, and recovery.
This presidentially appointed Inspector General will coordinate oversight, conduct audits, and provide technical data analytics support across executive agencies. It also expands data sharing authorities and maintains a centralized fraud database to help federal, state, and local agencies identify fraudulent activity.
And the tools do not stop there. House Resolution 8464, the Stopping Fraudulent Payments Act, establishes a legal framework that empowers federal agencies and the Treasury to temporarily pause, condition, or segment government disbursements that show elevated risks of fraud.
Right, and they will use objective fraud risk indicators, such as those identified by the Do Not Pay system, to justify these pauses. But to protect legitimate payees, the bill requires prompt notification of any delay, outlines a process to contest factual inaccuracies, and sets strict timelines for resolving these reviews. It also includes liability protections for government officials acting in good faith.
There is also House Resolution 8340, the Taxpayer Funds Oversight and Accountability Act. This one strengthens the roles of agency chief financial officers, or CFOs, requiring them to provide greater leadership in internal controls and risk management. It also transitions the government-wide financial management strategy from a 5-year to a 4-year cycle.
To tie all this financial reform together, House Resolution 1335 addresses what it calls a national fiscal emergency. The resolution highlights how rampant fraud and improper payments have resulted in trillions of dollars in losses since 2003. It points out how pandemic-era spending and insufficient oversight at both the federal and state levels, specifically citing investigations in Minnesota, California, and Ohio, have left taxpayer funds vulnerable. It supports the newly established task force to eliminate fraud and advocates for verifying program eligibility before any payments are issued.
That is a massive focus on preventing fraud before the money ever leaves the government. We also see this proactive approach in education with House Bill 7892, the No Aid for Ghost Students Act of 2026. This bill mandates that the Secretary of Education implement an identity fraud detection system to screen all FAFSA applications starting October 1, 2026.
If an application is flagged for suspicious activity, the applicant must undergo rigorous identity verification, such as in-person or high-assurance digital checks, before any federal financial aid can be disbursed. This is aimed at preventing fraudulent applications and ensuring that financial assistance goes only to verified students.
Moving on to national security and infrastructure, Senate Bill 2, the Secure America Act, is a major appropriations measure for fiscal year 2026. It allocates billions of dollars to the Department of Homeland Security for border security and immigration enforcement, specifically for hiring, training, and equipping personnel within U.S. Customs and Border Protection and U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. It also funds advanced surveillance technologies to combat drug trafficking and contains resources to investigate and prevent child sexual exploitation.
On the trade and technology front, we have House Resolution 9162, the Protecting America from Chinese Cars Act of 2026. This proposes a federal ban on importing connected vehicles into the United States if they are manufactured in or associated with designated foreign adversary nations, specifically China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. The goal is to mitigate risks like data exfiltration and remote vehicle manipulation. There are narrow exceptions for testing and evaluation, but they require a strict authorization process by the Secretary of Commerce and the Commissioner of U.S. Customs and Border Protection.
For rural communities, House Resolution 9163, the Critical Access Hospital Roadway Impact Protections Act of 2026, amends the Social Security Act. It protects rural health care facilities from losing their critical access hospital status, which is vital for Medicare funding, due to external transportation infrastructure projects like road construction or bridge modifications that might alter travel times or distances.
That is incredibly important for preserving healthcare access in rural areas. And speaking of school-aged health, House Resolution 9164, also known as the FRESH Act, establishes a competitive grant program for schools to acquire and install milk storage and dispensing equipment. It authorizes $4 million annually from fiscal years 2027 through 2031 to help local educational agencies and tribal organizations upgrade their cold storage, covering up to 75% of project costs.
We also have several bills addressing land management and conservation. Senate Bill 2033, the Cross-Boundary Wildfire Solutions Act, mandates that the Comptroller General conduct a comprehensive study within 2 years to identify regulatory and programmatic barriers that hinder effective wildfire mitigation across federal, state, local, and tribal land boundaries.
And in North Dakota, Senate Bill 1377, the Theodore Roosevelt National Park Wild Horses Protection Act, requires the Secretary of the Interior to maintain a genetically diverse herd of at least 150 horses in the park's South Unit, restricting their removal to emergencies or specific management purposes.
On the social welfare front, Senate Bill 162, the Recruiting Families Using Data Act of 2025, requires states to develop family partnership plans to improve the recruitment and retention of foster and adoptive families. This focuses on data-driven strategies to better match foster families with the needs of children, increase kinship placements, and reduce congregate care.
We also saw a beautiful tribute to American history with Senate Bill 567, the first Rhode Island Regiment Congressional Gold Medal Act. This authorizes a Congressional Gold Medal to honor this regiment's service during the Revolutionary War. Recruited in 1778 with the promise of freedom for enslaved participants, it was one of the first integrated units in American history. The medal will be displayed at the Rhode Island State Library.
And speaking of historical milestones, House Concurrent Resolution 109 authorizes the use of Emancipation Hall in the Capitol Visitor Center on Wednesday, June 24, 2026, for a ceremony to dedicate the semi-quincentennial congressional time capsule, celebrating the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence.
Now let us touch on some key executive and judicial nominations. Anthony J. Powell has been nominated to be United States District Judge for the District of Kansas, and Antonio M. Pozos has been nominated to be United States District Judge for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania. Daniel Mac Traynor is nominated to be United States Circuit Judge for the 8th Circuit.
On the executive side, Brock Dahl is nominated to be Legal Advisor of the Department of State, and Brian Johnson is nominated to be Director of the Bureau of Consumer Financial Protection. We also have Brett Matsumoto nominated as Commissioner of Labor Statistics. For the National Labor Relations Board, David M. Prouty is nominated for reappointment, and James Macy is nominated for a 5-year term.
In committee action, there was a legislative field hearing on a discussion draft of the Great American Outdoors Act 250, which took place at 10 in the morning local time on June 12, 2026.
Finally, looking at the Congressional Daily Records, the House session on June 10, 2026, focused heavily on honoring public servants. Tributes were paid to retiring FDA forensic expert Dr. R. Dwayne Satzker, departing staff members Billy Dwyer and Michelle Galdamez, and the confirmation of Tony Mativi as a U.S. District Judge for Kansas. They also commemorated the 50th anniversary of the Buffalo Juneteenth Festival and discussed Yosemite National Park management, with Representative McClintock advocating for better visitor access over reservation systems.
And the day before, on June 9th, the House morning hour debates honored Chicago transportation advocate Riley O'Neill, celebrated the 74th anniversary of the Horn in the West outdoor drama, and marked the 27th anniversary of Kosovo Liberation Day. Members also debated DACA protections, veterans, mental health support, voting rights, and a proposed constitutional amendment to prohibit the desecration of the American flag.
As we wrap up today's episode, here is what you should watch out for in the coming weeks. Keep an eye on the upcoming dedication of the semi-quincentennial congressional time capsule on June 24th, the rollout of the FAFSA identity fraud detection system, and the progress of the Comptroller General's wildfire mitigation study.
That is all for Capital Catch-Up. Thank you for joining us.
We will see you next time.